Controversy still surrounding the Cannabis Control Commission. Its chair, Shannon O'Brien, has filed suit against State Treasurer Deb Goldberg over her suspension. Now, the suit paints a picture of dysfunction at the commission. And what I want to ask you is, there's really no one person in charge of the Cannabis Control Commission. It's a state agency that's supposed to be regulating itself. But do you think it needs oversight, more oversight?
There was someone in charge. Shannon O'Brien was in charge. The commission has continued to function with the House committee. We've made some improvement on the legislation. We created a fund which is going to go to help low-income folks start a business. We've taken money and used it to investigate all the licenses and make sure the backgrounds are clean on some of the
but
folks.
This is a $5 billion industry, a very important industry to this state. Do you have a lot of questions about what happened here?
Well, we're not involved in the hiring of the commissioner to run the Cannabis Commission. That was done by the treasurer.
Well,
I'm not going to involve
chair,
myself. Right? Well, that's the one who runs the commission.
Right.
Yeah, she hired Shannon O'Brien. O'Brien runs the commission. The commission reports to Shannon O'Brien. So I'm not going to get in the middle of a hiring dispute between the authority that's hired, especially while it's in court.
Yeah.
We will continue to work with the committee. The committee has continued to do work. They're hearing bills. There's a number of bills and proposals.
But a bipartisan group of lawmakers has asked for more oversight, but you don't think that's necessary?
No, I think the committee that meets regularly about the issues facing the Cannabis Commission is the vehicle, not some ad hoc group of folks who want to get in the middle of a fight.
All right, tax relief got done. It's a big deal in a place often known derisively as Taxachusetts. Not everybody got everything they wanted, but the bill was passed. It was signed by the governor. What do you consider the biggest accomplishment in that tax relief bill?
For me?
Yeah.
There are a number of things that are important, but probably personally for me, it's the fact that we will pay you even if you don't pay any state taxes, and that is and I'm blanking on the name of
the senior circuit breaker. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So that would impact a lot of seniors out there.
I do a TV show like this, a cable show, explaining the senior circuit breaker, along with a mailing that I do to folks. I have a guy who is just amazed that he files his state taxes every year and gets back $1,000. He hasn't paid a nickel in tax in 5 years.
So there's a lot of people in this that are getting money. Parents, renters, seniors. Should it have been broader? Should you have taken that $1 billion and said, we're going to shave another
that's
off
wonderful.
the income tax or something?
That's wonderful. Let's make it broader. I'll give all the money back.
Well, I'm saying target.
We have to run the government.
Right, but target the state income tax or the gas tax or something like that.
As taxes slow down and the revenues decrease and we're not above benchmark, you have to be prudent because at some point you're going to have to cut these if you don't have enough revenue. We can't run the programs on hope.
So it sounds like you're saying no, it wasn't there's not enough money to target the income tax.
I'm trying to be practical. I'm trying to be practical here and explain to you that you can't do everything you want all at once. We began this 2 years ago, and we were working towards the House and Senate having their own individual package, which was fairly substantial. And then the previous governor dropped a $3 billion bomb on us that we didn't anticipate.
Those tax rebate checks
yes,
for people too.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of people like those tax rebate checks.
Well, and they deserve them, and they got them.
Yeah.
We paid it. But that didn't mean we were going to do tax cuts along with it.
I do want to ask you, you're coming up on 3 years of being the Speaker of the House. How much longer are you going to do this for?
You've been talking to my wife. That's
Your wife must want you to retire.
Well, listen, there's a lot of things I really would like to get done. The tax cut was one of them. I've always been involved in healthcare. There are some things in healthcare that are changing rapidly. Obviously, Dana-Farber leaving Mass General is a shock to me. I think that there's a reconfiguration of the hospitals. And
It sounds like you have more work to do.
I really do. I feel like there are some things I'd really like to sink my teeth into and put on what we hope to be the right track.
So no retirement anytime soon?
I don't think so.
See what your wife has to say.
Yeah,
Our thanks again to Massachusetts House Speaker Ron Mariano.